Hello and welcome to the third lecture for Unit 3. We will be looking at the Middle Colonies in this lecture. Just to kind of review the New England colonies, we're talking about fishing, trading, commerce, shipping, all of this kind of stuff. Because they cannot farm, because they do not have good soil, they can't make their money off of that. They have to make their money off of fishing and trading and shipping. The southern colonies does have good soil. They do have the tidewater. They can grow cash crops like tobacco, which require a lot of labor, and that means they're going to have a lot of slaves. Now, the middle colonies are going to be able to grow a lot of crops, but they are not going to have a lot of slaves. So we're going to try to see why that is. Why do the middle colonies, why are they able to grow so many crops but still not have as many slaves, and some other things about the middle colonies. This is a picture of the middle colonies. We have New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware. Now, some of the middle colonies, down here especially, do grow tobacco, but the majority of this is going to be grains and vegetables and fruit, like wheat and stuff like that. The Dutch and German farmers, with their skills, hard work, and knowledge, produce an abundance, which means a lot of food. The middle colonies enjoy a longer growing season and a soil rich enough to grow cash crops. So that is why they can grow an abundance of amount of food. Now, that means there's going to be a good amount of farms, but there still are not going to be a lot of slaves. The farms grew fruits, vegetables, and above all grains. And what are grains like wheat, and they can be made into bread. And all of these things that they're growing in the middle colonies are helping to feed the other colonies. So that means that, they are kind of the provider for the rest of the colonies, and they become known as the breadbasket colonies. The things that they are growing in the middle colonies require a lot less labor. Wheat does not have to be tended to every day. It grows, you harvest it, that's it. You do not need a lot of slave labor for that. So the middle colonies are going to see a lot less slavery because the crops that they are growing just do not require as many workers, as opposed to the southern colonies, which tobacco and rice require a lot. Large cities grow at the mouths of rivers because if you think about it, if you have a city that's right here on the coast, you have ships coming in from the ocean, but also you have people coming down river from, different towns and things like that. So you're going to get a lot more people meeting at places where the river intersects with the coast. Kind of like St. Louis. You have the Mississippi River and the Missouri River, and they intersect right here, and that is where St. Louis is. So it's kind of like the same principle. These merchants exported grains and imported manufactured goods from England. So they would ship out wheat and things like that, but then bring in, hats and clothes and things that people would buy. Because of its enormous trade, one of these cities that's on the coast and at the intersection of a river is Philadelphia. It becomes one of the fastest growing cities in the colony, and it becomes very, very wealthy. And we've seen kind of a pairing of these two things, fastest growing colony and wealthy. If people are making money, more people are going to want to go to, and it's going to grow. African Americans in those cities. Unlike the southern colonies, the middle colonies did not depend on a large slave population because of the things that we talked about earlier. Smaller amount of labor required. That means that you don't need as many slaves. In 1750, only 7% of the middle colonies were enslaved. That's a lot less than the southern colonies. We talked about in Unit 2 or in Section 2 of this lecture or of this unit that you have almost 235,000 slaves in the southern colonies by 1750. That's a large percentage of their population. In the Middle Colonies, you just don't need that much labor, and that's just the facts. New York City's African American population was larger than any other northern city, and the Quakers are the first group to condemn slavery, which means that they kind of say that maybe we shouldn't use slavery anymore. Maybe we should think about them as being human beings and not just things that work for us. This value influenced immigrants in the Middle Colonies because the Quakers are a large influential group in the Middle Colonies. And when immigrants come into the Middle Colonies, they kind of listen to what the Quakers are saying, and if the Quakers are saying, hey, maybe, we don't have slavery here, other people are going to go, hey, that's kind of a good idea. Diversity and tolerance is something that we've talked a lot about when we talk about the Middle Colonies, and the Germans are one of these groups, one of the many groups that are in the region of diversity here. It's one of the largest groups in the region. They were attracted to Pennsylvania because it did not have a tax-supported church like they do in New England with the Puritans. So you're going to have the Germans, the Dutch, the Quakers, Baptists, Anglicans, all kinds of people. The Dutch and the Quakers practice religious tolerance, and this lays the foundation for the well-known religious tolerance of the Middle Colonies. This is in contrast to the New England colonies, where the Puritans dominated. Many religious groups settled in the Middle Colonies. So in contrast to the New England colonies, where many Europeans or many Puritans dominated, you have a lot of religious groups settling in the Middle Colonies. All of this diversity leads us to toleration, because this is kind of the definition of toleration right down here. People learning to live with each other. And that is because of this diversity. So diversity leads us to tolerance. The Middle Colonies were beginning to raise their voice against slavery. The Middle Colonies were moving closer to modern ideas of tolerance and freedom. You don't see in the Middle Colonies a whole bunch of people saying it's okay to have slaves, or it's okay to kill people because they're a different religion. You have people thinking, more modern ideas like, maybe it's not okay to kill people because they're a different religion, or maybe we shouldn't enslave other human beings. So they become very forward-thinking and progressive. So that is the Middle Colonies, and that is the end of Lecture 3.